Matcha is supposed to burn fat, snatch your waist, and basically do your workout for you. At least that's what your Instagram says. But somehow it's also an $11 Air One latte, a GLP-1 alternative, matcha martini, and a $1 billion industry with Chinese production producing over 70% of the world's supply. Meanwhile, at home in Japan, matcha sales are shattering records with one lot of premium quality spring harvest matcha selling at $450 per kilogram. That's $204 per pound. So, for a very expensive tea powder said to lower inflammation, sculpt your body, and snatch your waist, matcha prices are already selling at over 260% at auction and becoming notoriously hard to get your hands on. In today's video, you will learn the real science behind matcha's health claims, whether it can really snatch your waist, where matcha actually comes from, and why it suddenly costs a fortune. Most Japanese matcha still comes from small, traditional, and family-run farms, not factories, and spring harvest leaves are still ground in granite mills exactly as has been done for generations. But Japan isn't even the world's biggest matcha producer anymore. China is. In 2025, China produced over 12,000 tons of matcha, eclipsing Japan's production of only 5,336 tons. And according to Chinese sources, China is predicted to produce over 18,000 tons, feeding into products like protein matcha lattes, matcha donuts, matcha cookies, matcha probiotics to help you de-bloat and depuff. And there's even a matcha-based GLP-1 supplement. So why does Japanese matcha still feel like the gold standard if China is completely outproducing them? Japan owns quality, China owns volume. Japan produces over 90% of the world's ceremonial grade matcha, which can sell for over $400 per kilo at auction. And depending on your source, the global matcha market is estimated at $4.3 billion as a low estimate, and probably somewhere between 7.3 and 9 billion dollars. The question isn't even, is matcha healthy? At least not for now. Question is, what actually is this stuff and why does it cost a fortune? Matcha starts as the exact same plant as any other tea, Camellia sinensis. This is the exact same plant that will become black tea, white tea, and oolong. So why does this matcha latte think it's so special? The answer is stress. Tea growers intentionally stress their plants, and it actually makes the tea taste better. Weeks before harvesting, farmers intentionally cover their plants to create shade, and not just a little bit of shade. Up to 90% sunlight gets blocked. So let me take you on a journey. Thousands of years ago, tea growers figured out that by blocking sunlight, you can reduce the bitterness and enhance the sweetness by shading. And modern scientists have figured out why. Sunlight acts as a biological signal that drives the production of catechins from amino acids. Block the sunlight and the amino acids pile up instead, especially one in particular called L-Theanine. L-Theanine is responsible for matcha's calming, soothing, relaxation effects. Where catechins taste bitter, L-Theanine tastes sweet, savory, umami, and it also changes what happens inside your body. And matcha is pretty high maintenance because after being grown exclusively in the shade, being hand-picked spring harvest and stone ground, it also needs a steam treatment. But you can think of this steam as a anti-aging beauty treatment. Steam helps matcha preserve its beautiful bright green color. But what it actually does is it kills the enzyme polyphenol oxidase, which is responsible for aging the plant or oxidizing the polyphenols. And the same thing happens in your body too, where oxidation causes aging. Now, this part actually matters scientifically because antioxidants are tied to brain health, heart health, longevity, and even cellular aging. Inside your cells, unstable molecules called free radicals occasionally pop up. And this is just a byproduct of normal metabolism. In small amounts, they're fine, but when they build up from stress, sickness, overeating, and undermoving, free radicals damage your cells, and scientists call this oxidative stress. It's a major driver of chronic disease, heart disease, dementia, diabetes. Antioxidants counter oxidative stress. Antioxidants are literally anti-oxidation, which is exactly what the catechins in your matcha latte are doing, blocking free radicals from causing cellular damage and inflammation. Now, how good does it actually get? Well, matcha's antioxidant load tests seriously high in laboratory studies. And compared to green tea, each sip delivers a much more potent dose of nutrients. It's like eating the spinach versus drinking the water you use to steam the spinach. When you drink green tea, you're drinking warm water infused with a few small molecules from the tea leaf. You sip and toss the leaves. With matcha, you're actually consuming the tea plant itself. And even though with shading, you block much of the antioxidant synthesis, because matcha is stone ground into a fine concentrated powder, you also concentrate the nutrients inside. Your body, brain, and metabolism all benefit from this concentration effect. And it gets more exciting. There's also chlorogenic acid, which totally sounds like a spy movie poison, but it has roles in lowering inflammation and activating detox. Chlorogenic acid can turn on your body's innate antioxidant defense system. It activates the NRF2 pathway, which specializes in protecting your cells from inflammatory damage. And chlorogenic acid may even be able to activate genes promoting insulin sensitivity, reducing your risk of type 2 diabetes. Compared to coffee, matcha fumbles. It only has about 10 milligrams of chlorogenic acid per serving, where coffee can have over 200. Same for caffeine. Matcha typically only has 38 to 89 milligrams of caffeine per serving, where coffee has about 120. And if you're drinking dark roast, you can expect to feel the jitters even more. But matcha doesn't make you feel anxious and overstimulated the way coffee does. That's because of L-Theanine. L-Theanine produces calmness and relaxation, literally changing the chemicals in your brain. And now, what about the fat on your waist or on your hips? What about matcha for metabolic health? Matcha also has epigallocatechin gallate, or EGCG, and EGCG is responsible for much of matcha's metabolic benefits. One serving of matcha has about 70 to 100 milligrams of EGCG, and the fat loss effect is real. Multiple studies have confirmed this. But is it really enough to slim your waist? Here's the theory. Your body has a neurotransmitter called noradrenaline, and noradrenaline stimulates fat burning. It gets the fat stored in your body, in your fat cells, to be released into the blood, where it can be made available for fuel. But your body also needs a way to control and regulate noradrenaline, and it uses the enzyme COMT to deactivate noradrenaline. Now, what I haven't told you yet, and honestly will probably shock you because scientists are so good at naming things, is that noradrenaline is a catecholamine, and COMT stands for catechol O-methyltransferase. Well, remember those antioxidants in matcha? Those were all catechins, and EGCG stands for epigallocatechin gallate. These are all catechin-associated molecules. So would it surprise you then that EGCG can sneak into the enzyme COMT, pretending that it's noradrenaline, allowing noradrenaline to actually stay in your system longer and stimulate fat cells longer? That's it. That's the theory. But does it actually happen? Green tea catechins, the exact ones found in your matcha, have been consistently found to lower belly fat, body fat, and even shrink your waist, reducing both waist circumference, hip circumference, and lowering visceral fat. Green tea has also been found to lower cholesterol, inflammation, blood pressure, and promote heart health, brain health, and longevity. So what does the science have to say for itself? A 2010 meta-analysis found that by combining green tea with caffeine caused a weight loss of about 3 pounds and shrunk the waist by 1.93 centimeters. Tea drinkers had less body fat and smaller waists than non-tea drinkers, likely because green tea catechins help stimulate fat oxidation. In fact, another study found that combining EGCG with caffeine increased total daily energy expenditure, the amount of calories that you burn in one day. What's crazy is that compared to coffee, EGCG with caffeine boosted fat oxidation to 41% total calories burned compared to 33% from caffeine alone. And of course, the more potent the catechins, the more potent the effect. A randomized controlled trial published in the journal Obesity found that high catechin green tea drinkers lost on average 3.7 pounds, dropped their body fat by 2.3%, and in women, waist circumference shrank by 2.7 centimeters in just 12 weeks. There were also significant decreases in visceral fat, the nasty fat that hangs out in your belly and sits around your liver and internal organs, causing inflammation, metabolic dysfunction, and associated with diabetes. Other research has suggested that green tea catechins might lower ghrelin, your hunger hormone, helping people eat less and lose more fat. Inside your gut, catechins have even been theorized to block the absorption of fats, basically meaning that all the fat you get from your avocado toast, olive oil, or butter, not all of that is getting absorbed when you have it with green tea. But this is just a theory and probably pales in comparison to what flax seeds, chia seeds, and fiber are doing to lower fat absorption. Even compared to coffee, authors of a study published in the British Journal of Nutrition concluded that green tea promoted weight loss while coffee did not. The authors did also evaluate the strength of their evidence as very low to low confidence, which is basically the professional way of saying nothing special. Let's just be so real. Many of these studies used high-dose catechins or green tea extracts, and our matcha latte only has about 70 to 100 milligrams of EGCG per serving, while the women who were losing 3.7 pounds and dropping 2.7 centimeters off their waist were all taking a catechin supplement of 583 milligrams, which is about 6 times more than what we get in our matcha latte. We can always rely on a Cochrane review to sum it all up nicely. Weight loss from green tea is small, most often not statistically significant, and not considered to be clinically important. Honestly, if you want reliable fat loss, pay attention to what you eat, how much, and how often you move. And if you are depending on a 300-calorie iced banana bread matcha latte to get all of your waist slimming, cholesterol lowering matcha benefits, you can expect the 30 grams of sugar to completely cancel all of the benefits out. Now, if you're watching this video, you probably love matcha just as much as I do. You have 4 different varieties in your cupboard and you're starting to wonder, how do I know which one is actually good for me? Ceremonial grade is the highest quality of matcha. Leaves were picked young, spring harvest, and stone ground into a fine green powder. Ceremonial grade is supposed to be bright green, smooth, slightly sweet matcha, highest quality. The term ceremonial grade matcha is not like champagne. Champagne is protected by European law and international treaty. You will never see Napa Valley or New Zealand producing a champagne. But matcha doesn't have the same regulations. You could be buying a ceremonial grade matcha that was actually grown, mass-produced, and processed in China. So let the matcha speak for itself. Choose bright green, slightly sweet spring harvest matcha grown exclusively in Japan. That's how you know your matcha will have more nutrients, more flavor, and more antioxidant. Even if it says ceremonial grade, if it's a little dull, doesn't smell sweet, fresh, tastes bitter, or even smells fishy, it's probably been mass-produced, spoiled, and has gone rancid. Now, I would never tell you to drink champagne instead of matcha for the health benefits, but at least with champagne, you know it's real. So subscribe to my channel, Nutrition by Elsa, so you do not miss out on the next episode all about champagne. Catechin gallate, EGCG, matcha